Playoffs? You want to talk about playoffs? Yes, I do. Grossi Posse Packer Nation. Welcome to another episode of Packcast, the podcast where you don't have to be a Packers fan, but it sure does help. I'm your host, Sam. It's the most wonderful time of the year. And I'm not talking about you, Chris Kringle. I'm talking about playoffs, Grossi. And today, we are going to be breaking down and predicting the seedings, the standings for the NFL playoffs, both for the NFC and AFC conferences. Before we get to that, I do want to give an update. I am still without internet. I should be getting it back tomorrow. So there are a number of Patreons and YouTube members who have recently subscribed, and that's fantastic. I have not forgotten about you. I am unable to currently put you in the show because I don't have access to the internet from this equipment. So don't worry. I didn't forget about you. I appreciate you. You will be shouted out. I just wanted to make sure that that was clear. It is coming. So originally, Monday's video was going to be breaking down the NFC and all of the potential scenarios and clinching potentials. And instead, I did a different video. And so because of that, we're going to combine what was going to be Monday and Friday's video and just do the entirety of the NFL playoffs today. So with that being said, let's start off with everybody's favorite, the NFC. There is a lot less fluidity in the NFC. There are still a couple teams that could sneak in, and obviously the NFC East is a dumpster fire that needs to be sorted out. But for the most part, things are pretty set with who is going to the playoffs, give or take one or two teams. So right now, the Packers have clinched the North, the Saints have clinched the South, the Seahawks have clinched the West, and the Buccaneers have also clinched a playoff berth. So 4 teams are definitely going into the playoffs. We just need to sort out their actual seedings, and then there's 3 more that are going to be getting in. One, of course, is going to be the winner of the NFC East. So currently, as things stand, you have the Packers at number 1, Saints at number 2, Seahawks at number 3, Washington at number 4, 5 is the Buccaneers, 6 is the Rams, and 7 is the Bears. That's how things stand right now heading into that final Sunday. The teams that are in the hunt right now are the Cardinals, the Cowboys, and the Giants. So obviously, 2 of those NFC East teams are only in contention because someone still needs to win the division, and it's still a possibility that all 3 of those teams could actually pull it off. Again, what the hell has this become? So let's go through all the playoff scenarios and implications for each of these teams, starting off with the Green Bay Packers, because for the Green Bay Packers to clinch the number 1 seed, all they have to do is beat the Chicago Bears or have the Seattle Seahawks lose. If they do that, the road to the Super Bowl runs through Lambeau, and that's that. For the New Orleans Saints, they clinched the number 1 with a win versus Carolina. Green Bay has to lose, and Seattle has to win. This is a little cockamamie. There needs to be a 3-way tie for the Saints to actually clinch that number 1 spot. So basically, if you're a Packers fan, you are praying that the Seattle Seahawks lose, or of course that the Packers wind up winning. So the Saints, they had to go through a little complicated nonsense for them to get to that point, but it is still possible. The Seattle Seahawks also have an outside shot at still clinching that number 1 spot. Basically, what they would have to do is they have to win over the 49ers, the Packers have to lose to the Bears, and the Saints have to lose to the Panthers. So both the Packers and Saints have to lose, the Seahawks have to win, and boom, they clinch the number 1 spot, and then everything's going to be running through Seattle. Gross. So right now, those are the only 3 teams in the NFC that are actually in contention for that number 1 spot. Obviously, the Packers have the biggest advantage because they are in control of their own destiny, but anything can happen on Sunday. Then rounding up the top 4, you have the winner of the NFC East. Right now, that is Washington's to lose. Right now, they can clinch the NFC East with a win over the Philadelphia Eagles on Sunday Night Football. So again, complete control over their own destiny. Is Alex Smith going to play? That's going to be a bigger question, but right now, it's win and they're in. For the Cowboys and Giants, they're playing one another. So the winner of that game is going to have to rely on the Washington football team losing, and then they would win the East. So either the Giants or the Cowboys are literally just going to have to wait and pray that the Eagles win on Sunday night, because then the winner of their matchup is going to be the NFC East champion. Then for the number 5 seed, you have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They clinched the number 5 with a win over the Falcons, and they're going to really want to do that because then they're going to be able to go and face the NFC East winner, and yeah, they should obliterate them regardless of whatever team it's going to be. So that's what they have at stake on Sunday. Number 6 is the LA Rams, who could actually miss the playoffs entirely, but right now they get in with a win or Chicago loses, then boom, they are in the playoffs. Then you have the Chicago Bears. They get in with a win win over Green Bay, or Arizona loses to the Rams. So if you're a Bears fan, you are cheering for the LA Rams this weekend, which again, they will not have Jared Goff, so that could go either way. And then for the Cardinals, if they win, they're in. Also, if Arizona ties and Chicago loses, they could also get in that way as well, but I don't see that happening because it's 2021 and it's not 2020 anymore. So all that nonsense should be behind us, right? So breaking down how I think the seeding is going to work out in the NFC. Number one, I do think the Green Bay Packers are going to pull it off. Obviously, they lost David Bakhtiari last night, which is a huge blow for that offensive line. However, they have shown that they could win without him this season. They only allowed 2 sacks in the 3-game stretch that Bakhtiari missed, so I think we're going to wind up being okay. They'll be able to pull off the W. So the Bears right now, though, have won 3 straight, but the Packers should win this, and I think a close game. I don't think it's going to be a blowout like a lot of people predict. Number 2, I think you're going to have the New Orleans Saints because I think they'll be able to beat the Panthers. Number 3, you'll have the Seahawks because I think they'll be able to beat the 49ers. Number 4, I actually have the Dallas Cowboys. The Washington football team has made me really, really nervous over the past couple of weeks. They haven't been playing well. Obviously, with Alex Smith gone, that's problematic. If Alex Smith doesn't play, I definitely don't see them beating the Eagles. I know they have a good defense, but Jalen Hurts, besides a couple of turnovers, has looked really darn good. But even if Alex Smith does play, I don't know. I kind of picked the Eagles on this one, meaning that the Cowboys would actually win. It is also possible that the Giants wind up pulling it off, but right now the Cowboys have kind of been on a little bit of a hot streak lately. And so I think they have all the momentum going into this, and I think the Cowboys will wind up winning the NFC East. Good job, guys. You did it. Number 5, I have the Buccaneers because they'll beat the Falcons. Number 6, this is a tough one. I have the Rams. I think the Rams will be able to beat the Cardinals. I know Jared Goff isn't playing. I know there's a good chance that Kyler Murray is playing. It's just that I believe in the defense of the Rams. They can be really, really damn good. And while Kyler could give the edge out to the Cardinals, I just see the Rams getting it done, which means that number 7 would be the Chicago Bears. They would be able to sneak in if the Rams do pull off the W, because the Cardinals would then be out of contention. So your wildcard weekend would look like the Bears versus the Saints, the Rams versus the Seahawks, and the Buccaneers versus the Cowboys. Then heading over to the much more complicated one, the AFC. Yeah, this one's a little bit more intense because everybody and their mother is 10-5. Right now, you have 3 teams who have clinched divisions and have clinched playoff spots. You have the Bills who have clinched the AFC East, the Chiefs who have clinched the AFC West and the number 1 seed, and the Steelers who have clinched the AFC North. So currently at number 1, you have the Chiefs. Number 2 is the Bills. Number 3 is the Steelers. Number 4 is the Titans. Number 5 is the Dolphins. Number 6 is the Ravens. Number 7 is the Browns, and the Colts are right there on the bubble. Taking a look at some of the scenarios and implications for this Sunday. God, this is a mess. Let's start off with the Baltimore Ravens. They have an easy path. They can clinch a playoff berth with a win. So, Ravens fans, that's all you need to hope for. You need to win. They're going against the Bengals. I think that they are going to be able to pull it off. If for some reason the Bengals do beat them, they could also get in with a Cleveland loss or a Colts loss. So the Ravens honestly have one of the best shots of making the playoffs. Not only are they in control of their own destiny, but if either of the other 2 teams lose, they also wind up clinching a spot. Then for the Cleveland Browns, who look to be COVID-free, thankfully, they're squaring up against Pittsburgh, who is also resting their starters. Mason Rudolph is going to be playing his quarterback, so this is a very winnable game for the Browns. They get into the playoffs if they win, if Indianapolis loses, or if Tennessee loses, Miami wins, and Baltimore wins. So yes, the third one's really complicated. But basically, Browns, you need to win and root for the Colts to lose. Then for the Colts, there's actually 2 scenarios we need to talk about here, because not only can they clinch a playoff berth, but they can also still win the AFC South. So they can clinch the AFC South if they win and Tennessee loses. The Colts are playing against the Jaguars, so it is pretty much a given they are going to win, even though they did lose earlier in the season. I think they'll be able to pull this off. So they are hoping for a win and Tennessee loss for them to just win the division. For them to clinch a playoff berth, they need to win and Baltimore needs to lose, or they need to win and Cleveland needs to lose, or Indianapolis needs to win and Miami needs to lose. So basically, the Colts are not in control of their own destiny. That's why they are right now ranked at number 8. They are on the bubble. They need to win and they need help. So they need to win and have either Tennessee, Baltimore, Cleveland, or Miami lose in order for them to just get into the playoffs and or win the division. Then for the Dolphins, who are squaring up against the Buffalo Bills, they can clinch a playoff berth with a win, or if Baltimore loses, Cleveland loses, or Indianapolis loses, the Dolphins are in. So they also can get in by losing, and they just have one of these other 3 teams lose, or they're in control of their own destiny and they can win against Buffalo. Let's see what Buffalo decides to do, if they're going to start their starters or not. Maybe they'll do like a half and half split, but it is a winnable game for the Dolphins, but who knows? The Bills might decide to just destroy them and not let them in, which, that could happen. Then moving on to the Titans, they can clinch the AFC South with a win, or if the Colts lose to the Jaguars. They're squaring up against Houston, so Titans fans just have to do what they've done all year and just root for the Colts to lose, and of course for them to win. In addition, if they wind up losing, they could still clinch a playoff berth. They just need a Baltimore loss or a Miami loss, so they have a number of ways that they could get in as well. So here's what this is going to come down to. Honestly, I think it's going to come down to if Buffalo is going to start their starters, and if they do, for how long. I think the Bills will win that game, and if they do, it would actually knock Miami out of the playoffs in this scenario. So my predictions right now is the Chiefs at number 1, the Bills at number 2, the Steelers at number 3, the Titans at number 4, Ravens at number 5, the Browns at number 6, and the Colts at number 7. That's what happens if the Dolphins lose. If the Dolphins win, that changes things up, in which you would have the Chiefs, the Bills, the Steelers, the Titans, the Dolphins, the Ravens, and then the Browns. But I feel pretty confident that the Bills are going to be able to get it done, even if they only have their starters out there for like a quarter or so. Meaning that your wildcard matchups would be the Bills versus the Colts, the Steelers versus the Browns, and the Titans versus the Ravens. So some really great matchups there. So this is how I see these playoffs shaking out. Obviously, a lot of room for error and a lot of room for teams, especially in the AFC, to wind up sneaking in. But either way, there are a ton of playoff implications for this Sunday's game. So let's see what team can get it done. But let me know what you're thinking down in the comments below. Who do you see making the playoffs from each conference? Let me know what you think. You can always find me at TomGrossiComedy.com or at TomGrossiComedy, all social media, see down below. Check out podcasts on SoundCloud, iTunes, Google Play Music, Spotify, and of course YouTube. And a big shout and thank you to all the patrons over at patreon.com/TomGrossiComedy and the YouTube members. But thank you so much for watching. I'm Tom Grossi. And as always, go Pack Go.